Welcome to the Meat Dudes podcast. I'm Evan.
Tyler.
And we are here with Matt from Woodshop BBQ here in Seattle. And it's funny because for so long we've heard, man, Seattle doesn't have good barbecue. But I think the last few weeks we are proving that wrong. And this spot right here is phenomenal. They just fed us so much amazing food. We have taken the tour. We have seen the smokers. We have seen the process. We have seen the hard workers that work here. And man, this is inspiring, man. This is a great spot just to start off by. I just got to compliment you, man. Everybody here is awesome. What you're doing is awesome. Your knowledge is awesome. And it's been so much fun just hanging out with you today. I just wanted to start off by saying that, man.
Good.
Appreciate it.
Good leadership, sir.
Good leadership.
Wait,
yes.
Are you asking me for like my daughter's hand in marriage right now? You're buttering me up pretty hard here.
No.
We appreciate that
there.
though. It's when you spend a lot of your time here really trying to get things right, and it's not necessarily like somebody's telling you like you need to do this or you need to do that. It's like you're just kind of doing it for you because you think that that's the right way to be. It's nice when you get somebody that recognizes that and says, "Nice job." The attaboys are good for people at every age.
Hey,
Yes, they are.
It's for us entrepreneurs, man. We gotta,
man.
when we see it, we respect it, and we know what it takes to run a spot, and it's not easy, and so like talking to people like you and your business partner James, you guys are both awesome dudes, and it's been really cool, like I said, being here. But like we know what you do from the first 10 minutes of talking to you guys. We're like, yeah, dude, these guys know what the fuck's up. Like they know what's going on. You guys are legit.
And vice versa. It's been nice talking to you guys.
Fun,
it's like
man.
very much on the level the whole time we've been walking around.
You haven't eaten at our spot though yet, so we'll talk about that later.
Just wait till I start my podcast on how to run the P&Ls. We'll see how legit everybody is.
Man, I'll be jumping into that. Well, let's talk a little bit about your background because you have a cool degree that I want you to talk about. And you're I guess I would say you're Texas style barbecue, but you're from Kansas, so you have a little bit of that mixed in as well. So why don't you talk about kind of your background? We'll get into some nerdy wood stuff, and then kind of talk about your style of barbecue.
Yeah, so grew up in Kansas, eating a lot of barbecue. Parents had a furniture store that was next door to a barbecue restaurant. So I think the first piece of it was just knowing what good barbecue tastes like, moving up here. And then I was kind of like every 17, 18-year-old kid. I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do. And my parents had a furniture store, and I was a good woodworker at the time, multi-generational woodworker myself and my family. And just kind of made sense at the time. But going into getting a bachelor's degree with wood technology was
That's awesome.
basically is like either I'm going to go work for a woodworking company or find something else to do. It's kind of like I joke around. My business partner James, he got a degree in history. And it's like we kind of both had to figure out our way as like where are we going to get a job and what are we going to do, right? So,
but has that degree helped you with barbecue and finding wood and understanding the different woods? Because that's what it's all about.
It definitely made the R&D process a lot easier. You can also as you're like trying to figure out in the beginning like what you want your version of barbecue to be. For me it wasn't me trying to recreate the wheel or trying to like hit a mark from somebody else. It's like it was kind of a feeling. So every time I would taste stuff, it was try it with red oak, which is a big one in the Midwest. It was like I was trying it with red oak, but it wasn't hitting the mark. I would try it with white oak and post oak and stuff like that. It wasn't hitting the mark. It was too light. But then I would try like mesquite and stuff like that because I wanted to up the smoke game, and it was like got too smoky. But then it was like I'd have other people that were up here were doing applewood. They're trying to overcompensate for the light smoke by running it cooler, to where it's like basically 200 to 225 is what they're running. And it's like it just tasted terrible. Like it tasted like a gross smoke. And so I got really in tune to that, and it was because I knew as much as I do about wood. I started to kind of piece it together in more like kind of a blueprint to hit that mark. And so I found that it was hickory, but then I also found that hickory would overpower everything else.
Okay.
So you can, we had a season where we were getting nothing but green hickory coming out of the Ozarks, and it was
spicy.
Dude, it was impossible to keep that rolling. I'd be, it rains, at the time I was catering and stuff like that. It was like, it'd be raining on me while I was trying to run a smoker in the rain. And it's like, if you've got wet wood, you're trying to split, and then you're putting wet wood in a wet fire with a wet, oh my God.
Sounds like it's a fucking nightmare.
It was an absolute nightmare. And so I started.
God damn it!
I started backloading in because it's a little less dense, but it does a really good job kind of coaling up and creating a nice hot coal bed that you can run a little smaller. As I would bring in the post oak to do that, and then I would use the hickory log just kind of on the side, smoldering to really add the extra smoke flavor.
Cool.
Okay.
And so I stopped running my fire on hickory and just focusing my flavor of hickory. So that was where you had to kind of go, is understand the densities of the wood, understand where the regions that they're coming from, and then watching how they burn and kind of approaching the entire thing as like a giant experiment.
Cool.
It all started to really make sense. And so
That's cool, man. So you're 275 to 300, post oak and hickory.
yeah, it's
That's
usually
your style.
We go by numbers of logs, but you can kind of do the blend is basically like 2 to 1 post oak to hickory.
Okay.
But the hickory
Cool.
is the primary always for flavor. So like
Yeah.
if you had somebody coming in from Texas, it wouldn't taste like just a straight Central Texas Austin barbecue all post oak. Like
Yeah.
it's a little bit more robust.
Being that we're Applewood users, like just sitting here right now, like we're ways away. from where
Shame,
the fire
shame,
is.
shame.
Pepsi challenge. Let's go,
let's
baby.
do it.
I can just in the air, I can smell
Yeah.
the difference. Like sometimes we'll get sent cherry wood on accident or something, and the minute I throw it in, I can be like,
Yeah.
something's different. It
Yeah.
smells sweeter.
Yeah.
It's got this different tone to it. This one has like almost like a green peppercorn
Yeah,
in
that's
the air.
very much. Yeah,
You know?
It's
Picking up on?
what's funny is like over time I stopped smelling it,
Yeah.
but I can smell everybody else's smoke.
Right.
That's
So-
what
Yeah,
Tim's
I was
the
just gonna
exact
say,
same
like,
way, dude.
He was
I
just
can't
telling
even
me
fucking
yesterday,
smell
man.
it.
He's like, I
Yeah,
can't
it's-
smell this shit anymore. But like,
Can't
he
smell
can
it.
pick out the green peppercorn out of your
Still,
smoke.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah,
dude.
it's funny.
Yeah.
It was like, but like if I walked into a space that was using just post oak or pecan, things like that, it's
You'd
like
know.
I can tell. I can tell what it is now.
Yeah.
It's so much more prominent. But if it's anything hickory, I can't smell it at all.
That
Like my brain has just been like,
Is this so
no,
weird?
there's too much of this.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre, dude.
Yeah.
It's so weird how this styles are, styles of barbecue really differentiate between the wood, and I told you I was going to bring this up, but like you said, oh man, I probably wouldn't like your guys' stuff because you smoke with applewood, and I just don't like that. I prefer hickory and post oak, and it's just funny how it's all preference based, and
Yeah.
it's so. Yeah, it's just so different what people want, what the wood will actually use.
And it also is like, how are you approaching coming up with the menu? Like, why are you doing this
Absolutely.
venture that you're doing? Is
Sure.
like,
Yes.
For me, I was a decade removed from being around family all the time. Like my entire family is all Central Kansas, and so the moving out here was a big deal. And it's spending a decade without that, also you start to get real homesick. And then you try barbecue up here, and it just like the best flavor, the best texture, the best cook that you'd get, and you're just like, doesn't taste like barbecue. You get kind of curious about that. I was like, why is that? Is it just me? Am I just homesick all the time? I'm like, nothing can do this, quill this but my mom, like hanging out with my mom. And then like you start to play around with that. And so that was my fuel for like doing my ribs over the years. 'Cause I did ribs like almost every weekend for a decade prior to starting Woodshop, like trying to figure that component out. And it's like,
Tough.
so when it comes to barbecue, like I'm the worst person to take to somebody else's barbecue restaurant.
Because you know what you want.
I know, well, it's like, if it's not that incredibly personal or humbling, like, it's like it's not worth it. Like, my wife and I don't get gas station sushi anymore. We go to Shiro's or we go to Sushi Kashiba or one of those. Because it's like, I'd rather wait until I'm in the Mecca, the perfect spot, the best place in the city, and save my pennies and have that experience that I want out of it.
Yeah.
So it's more of like how I approach barbecue is always more of an experience. It's like the hospitality, that kind of stuff. Your guys' stuff I would love, like, because it's creative and things like that, things that we don't get to do a ton of. Like, our creativity was basically set, 100 years ago.
Definitely untraditional.
And we're talking about,
yeah.
I mean, we're different styles because, you are your production and efficiency, and then we are too, but on a smaller level. So we have that time to be able to create maybe a little bit of a different style. But you got 45 briskets on, and your dude back there.
Dude,
we were talking to him,
love
and he's
that
just
guy.
literally prepping ribs the whole time. And he's like, "Okay,
Yeah.
guys, can you get the fuck out of my way? Because
Yeah.
I got to keep prepping these fucking ribs like the whole time we were talking."
He's
about
counting
it.
down the seconds
He's
until
like-
you leave.
He's like,
I'm ready to
it's
get
really
back into
cute. You guys want to hang out back here.
But I'm fucking working my
Get
ass
the
off.
fuck out of here.
Yeah, he's dope. Yeah, no, that's funny though. I mean, can you explain, I guess, what is Kansas City style versus Texas style? 'Cause I think a lot of people in Seattle, we don't really have that barbecue. It's a little bit.
Yeah.
I think I honestly think when people think of Seattle barbecue, they think of like Korean barbecue. I think we get a lot of Korean barbecue.
Yeah.
We get a lot of salmon, but but you're
especially when you Google it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
right.
you're like, oh,
And that's what we're trying to.
that's not really what I'm looking for.
We're actually trying to step that up a little bit and change it. But what is Kansas City and what is Texas and how'd that kind of get up here?
I think Texas is all over the place. I think there's a really popular vein, which is that like traditional like Central Texas style with 1,000-gallon propane tank, converted smokers, and it's all brisket. It's Post Oak, and it's like a real focus on beef, real peppery. But like if you go back, like there's so many other veins of barbecue running through Texas.
For
I mean,
sure.
there's all over the place, and there's so many that are derivative from the same stuff that Kansas City barbecue is derivative as well.
Of
so
course.
like I've always gotten really nerdy about the like anthropology side of barbecue and the Southern foodways stuff, like to truly understand like where things kind of came from and like how as people moved and immigrated and and shifted around the country, like what they brought with them and where they expanded that culture. And I find it's in every region everything's all over the place, and so I've never loved the idea of like regions do any one thing specific as much as like maybe that was the piece that they influenced for the greater barbecue community type of thing.
And we're talking generational.
Yeah, I mean it's like
structure.
Settlers
and it's like so I like to go back to the source with that, like the early days to understand it. So there was like in Kansas, the Kansas City vein that I always got was like everybody always talks about it's real saucy.
Yep.
Like I haven't had two sauces that are the same in Kansas City.
Right.
And I haven't had two barbecue restaurants that sauce things the same way. Like it's there's a lot more saucing that happens there, but I haven't found you get plenty of dry ribs and get plenty of sauce on the side type of stuff. I usually try and stay away from saucy or not saucy because then we're talking about things that are chef focused things that I'm not that great at. So it's like it's coming up with sauces. Like I think I burnt out my creative gene getting my stuff launched, and I was like I have no more chef in me. Like there's no more creativity. But when we talk about Kansas City, I talk more about like it's pork.
Yeah.
It's
lots of pork.
It's a generational understanding, multi-generational understanding of pork. This pork is pretty bland, but the fat is so silky, and when it melts at a lower temp, like it's just more. I don't know. It's more pliable. It's kind of like if I always talk to people in the Northwest about like to me beef and brisket is more like trout or salmon.
Okay.
Nothing else tastes like it. It tastes like itself. Like beef to me, like specifically brisket and beef ribs, they taste like themselves.
Yes.
They taste exactly like that cut of meat. And there's no other thing in the world that tastes like beef. It's like it comes out and you're just like, wow, like that is that.
Love it.
With pork, it's like halibut or rockfish, whitefish, right?
Whitefish.
So you can manipulate that
You
flavor
can manipulate
with
it,
seasonings,
yeah,
right?
for
And
sure.
so I put it more in that category always. So I always separate it out. I think Texas likes to let the meat shine with beef, and I think Kansas City understands that pork is boring as hell. But it has great fat, and it's like it needs to be able to manipulate that.
Sexy it up.
Yeah, so it's like you get more brown sugar, you get more chili powder, you get more cumin, whatever, like onion powder, garlic powder, whatever. It's like it just whatever it takes to like make that flavor kind of shine a little better, and it takes it really well.
Yeah.
So
Praise the Lord.
praise the Lord.
Dude. You got a cool shop here, man.
It is
you
dope.
and
I love
James.
this place.
You guys are a couple of cool dudes, man. Been having a fun time here, but how did you guys meet and how did this wood shop kind of launch? Because I know we've all been talking about our struggles during COVID and all that stuff, and like how did that kind of story happen, real quick?
So in the very beginning, so my partner James was dating a gal named Val, and then I was dating my wife. And those two women were best friends. And so next thing you know, I think Val and my wife Eleanor were very clear that we were going to have a bromance, like immediately. And so they kind of smushed us together. We just hit it off really quickly. Enjoyed because he just bought a Hall of a Falafel at that time. It was was really kind of getting. He was up to speed with that at that point. It was like back then it was kind of the food truck industry was kind of the Wild West, and so his stories and stuff that he was like, his stuff I was like, that is so cool, man. Like I've been dealing with construction guys, and it was like this isn't nearly as fun and sexy as this business. And I was like, and I had my real estate agent inquire and make an offer on the Hall of a Falafel trailer at the same time that he already picked it up by that point. And I was just like, so we were kind of like in this, I feel like at that point we were like mentality wise, kind of similar places in our lives.
Cool.
And it was, next thing you know, like we just started, we burned a 3-month-old dried out Christmas tree in a fire pit in my backyard. And we drank, I used to have a lot of parties at my house, and people would just like leave booze. Like, so we were like in cleanup mode, where you're just like little bits of everything, which is some of the worst and some of the best nights ever. But, there's this one that was caramel flavored, I think it was whitetail whiskey. I don't know if you've ever had it. It's rough. It's rough.
It sounds delightful.
It's got a great label though. It's like the stag horns. And oh man, it's so good. I love it. But it's but we finished this bottle of the worst whiskey in the planet, and the moment that Christmas tree went up, it was kind of like we were both on the same page, like a light bulb, and it was like, we're gonna do this, right?
Let's go.
Let's light some fires.
Yeah, this guy's kind of cool. It's like James grew up in Seattle. Huge family in Texas, stuff like that. And, heritage out of Texas, and so he got an appreciation for that stuff, and then he's watching me, my full camo, Carhartts and shit everywhere. And it's like I'm definitely not a city kid and not a Northwesterner. It's like I'm a very much Kansas country kid. Yeah. And we got along really well, and both of us were like insanely hard workers. Like we're willing to put whatever whatever it takes forward to do it, and I connected
get her
with him.
done.
Yeah, this literally like we kind of have that same mentality. It's like knowing what things required, and it was never a question of whether we put more time in, like, which is cool. And you feel that side of it out, and you realize that you got somebody good that you're working with. Partnership, you guys know this, like partnerships are hit or miss.
Yep. You can't annoy each other all the time.
Yeah, you have to like, you kind of have to filter everything you go through with like a light of like, is this going to work for the greater good of us? Is this work towards our similar personalities or our differing personalities? Like you got to be considerate quite a bit, but also if the other person is not pulling their weight, it's like it's hard to be the considerate one when the other one's not, right? So I've been super lucky in my entire career with this. It's like he's been super easy to work with. Although he's a pain in my ass all the time, but like that's where so like that teamwork really is what got it to where it's at now.
Yeah, you guys got something good going on here, man.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
What are some, we get this a lot. What are some tips for maybe that backyard smoker because your pork ribs are insane. What would be like one or two things you would tell somebody? We get a lot of brisket tips, but like pork ribs might be something kind of cool coming from you guys too.
Because that's the one that you're pretty much most passionate about as far as like all the meats that
that's my flex.
You've learned and done, and you feel like you've mastered here. It's like that's the one.
And that was the first thing. Yeah, I'll say when we
that was the one that took the longest to
flag in the ground.
Yeah,
dude, when we sat down with all the food in front of us, your business partner James, that was the first thing you went. Dude, like you own this spot.
It took a long time to figure that one out. So with the ribs, it's kind of the same thing as with brisket. A little less so with like some of the smaller meats like chicken, and same thing with like pork belly. It's a lot more room to make mistakes with that stuff. Things are quick fire. You can always just toss another one on, and it doesn't take very long. But when you're doing something that's 10 to 14 hours of cooking, it's kind of like if you're making a burger for that long, that burger better be excellent, right?
Better be perfect.
So a lot of what it ends up being is like when I would have ribs turn out wrong, it was just that some sort of variable happened that I wasn't aware of or didn't have control over. And so I would be frustrated as hell. And I found myself taking like 6 months off of this process and getting so frustrated, like why can't I just turn out that one rib that I had, that one single rib out of all these racks that I've made? And then you replicate that a second time and you're like, what did I do? What did I do? So I'd say for me, it's always, get to know everybody's got different equipment. So get to know your equipment, get to know your fuel, make sure that you understand that. And you've done enough cooks to where you can maintain that in a smart way. If it's Traeger, pellet grills and stuff like that, great. It's nice and consistent on the temp and flavor and stuff. But once you've gotten past that and you're ready to play around, and you're ready to dial in something, you got to journal it.
Yeah.
To me, it's
That's
like
cool, man.
it's the experiment is the best way to always look at it. It's like, variables and constants, and find ways to only change little things.
Yeah.
But mark those down what you changed, and every hour put what your results were.
Yeah.
If you're going to use a probe, which I'd never used in the beginning because I'm not a cook. I didn't know that stuff existed. I didn't know InstaRead thermometers existed.
Really?
I knew, in other industries they did, but I didn't know it was a regular thing that people would use.
Yeah.
And so I was just it was a lot based on feel. It was a lot, making sure at the very end with your slow, like I'm doing the one I used for Thanksgiving for turkey.
Yep.
It was
Right.
slowly putting it there and waiting 5 minutes for it to finally dial up to the temperature. And you're hoping that's right. So all that was inconsistent. So I had to find other ways to be consistent. So the feel of the briskets, especially with ribs, how far it would pull back from the bone. But then that wasn't always working. Color wasn't always working. All these different things about ribs weren't working. And then you start to realize the journal helps you get to the art. It doesn't. The best barbecue people are not constantly on a journal.
Yeah.
It's the journal allows you to learn and get into the rhythm of it. And then once you get in the rhythm of it, with your smoker, I'm sure you don't have to really think about it. It's
Not anymore.
You just know the smoker, the cooker, the
Know
cook,
your device,
the process, the meats, and when you throw something new in there, you know how to filter that through that process and that brain.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of where I'm at now with barbecue is we can kind of do whatever we want, and you get predictable results.
Yeah.
But it took a lot of time. It took a lot of time.
Documentation.
We didn't know
Eating a lot of bad ribs.
Yeah, man. Oh, yeah. I mean, and that's
your
the thing.
mistakes.
You got to learn.
Yeah,
You got to learn.
totally.
It takes time, right? People come in there and they'll buy a big piece of meat and they're like, okay, how do I cook this? I'm like, okay, I can tell you, but it's still, you got to feel it a little bit, man. You got to. I don't know your device. That was the biggest thing when we first started doing this. The hardest thing for Chef Tyler and Chef Charlie, because I was dealing with all of the customers asking me stuff, and I'm like, how do I tell them to cook this? And they were always like, well, I mean, it's like this. It was very it was a struggle because they're like, I don't know what kind of fucking equipment they have. You know?
Basically,
I was like, oh yeah. That
Also,
makes
half the people you're telling it to don't know what that equipment is either.
And basically,
right?
kind of like a really short answer is that everybody's Kenmore oven at home or GE or whatever, when you turn it to 325, it's probably not 325 in there. It could be 280, it could be 400.
Yeah.
So I'm like, whoa, you turn up 325. Can't really answer that honestly.
Yeah.
It's like
It's
we're
tough.
going to give it a hard sear. You're going to look for all these dynamics. You're going to look for the meat to bubble. You're going to look for this texture, and then you're going to you have two options after that point. It's like people are like, what?
I've trained a ton of guys with this analogy. It's like trying to bake a sheet cake in a broken oven.
Yeah.
It's when you put the sheet cake in, it all starts to cook in the wrong spots unevenly, right?
Yeah.
So what you have to be able to do
Spin it.
is know how to spin it, move it top rack, bottom rack. You got to know how to finish everything within that same oven because you only got one oven.
Yeah.
And so it's that's really once you get to know your cooker.
Yeah.
Man, I can do anything in my shitty broken oven, right? It's this thing doesn't work, but I know how it doesn't work, so it works for me. There's nothing you can change. You can't make a consistent smoker.
Nope.
It doesn't exist. 'Cause
Nope.
The firewood's not consistent.
No.
The person stoking the fire is not always the same. But they're not always in the same mood.
It's
You never
right.
know.
Yeah, the elements are
Outside
different.
temperature. What's the air?
One good gust of
chilliness,
wind can ruin your day.
mess it up.
Dude.
And even doors get a little gap in them.
Oh yeah, the hinges get all bound up and
Hinges get all gooey and
That's why when we've had people over the years try and hit us on are you guys better than this barbecue 1, 2, or 3 barbecue restaurant? I would say I'm only better than Jeff's Texas Barbecue because he sucks. just joking. But
That's our guy, Jeff.
But he would say kind of similar thing about me.
He's dope.
He's awesome.
That is fun.
Yeah, he's one of my best friends. I would tell him I have no idea what they're doing in their place because all we're trying to do today is get the doors open on time and have the food be the same as it was yesterday. It takes every inch of any kind of effort that we've got left every day just to have the doors open at 11 and to have the food be quality of what we expect.
Oh, for
and
sure.
So
man.
if you're focused on that, it's what. I don't know. I don't know what anybody else is doing.
Dude, and watching your head dude back there literally score and rub probably 35 freaking racks of ribs as we were talking to him
Yeah.
the exact same way.
Yeah.
Like the whole time I was just like, damn, this dude is just a machine. But like,
Yeah.
That's why he likes
it's
it.
that consistency,
Yeah.
man. And like,
Yep.
you find good people like that, that helps a lot, man.
Yeah.
That definitely.
And our
it's hard
job,
to
our
be
job as
consistent.
the owners in this situation is like to just make sure that what that guy has is a consistent product in front of him, so
Right.
he's not fighting
True.
inconsistencies.
Right.
Because like if like we were talking about like why we go with Painted Hills is we have such a relationship with them that if we're getting cases that are of the wrong piece count, like
Yeah. Mhm.
wrong size briskets, like we talk to them, we bring it up to them, and they do what they can.
Yeah.
Like. The goal is to have consistent products. That way, the cooks are not fighting inconsistencies and having too many variables. Like always.
There's a lot of intricacies for like what we do and some of the companies that we use, and like preservation and pure
Yeah.
country, and I'll want tenderloin, and it's not
Yeah.
always the same weight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, shit, I got 10 last time for this special, and I'm only gonna order 6 for this one. So it's like the consistency wise is super duper rad. If I'm not there doing it all the time,
Yeah.
and the other way is like, that is really brings a specialty, I guess, to some of the meat product, but it's kind of fucking annoying sometimes.
Yeah, it's tough. Like we had to have these conversations in the early days, and like hard conversations, because I really liked what I was making, and I had a hard time passing that torch to somebody else to do that. But then I like found out, we started off as a food truck and catering, and so you kind of needed to be, if you're going to be the adult in the room, I can find an adult to run the pit. I had a hard time finding the best adults to be the messenger for our company for a wedding. For somebody that's like the biggest day of their lives, like.
Oh man!
Don't forget the mac and cheese, like
Yeah.
all that stuff, like stupid little stuff like that. But if I'm on the food truck, I could make a better impact.
Okay.
Not having my truck explode on the way there because I drove it at a regular speed,
dear.
and other people drive it at too high speeds.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
or they treat it like it's their little, Geo Metro. It's like,
Yeah, you
it's
can't
not.
do that. You
It's
can't do
not.
that.
Like it's you blew the engine, and I just bought it last year. Like, so it's like things like that. Is like it was better to be out in front of the customers, because so much of it was people not understanding what we were doing.
Yeah.
Because this was like
Yeah.
I think we started doing the food truck about the same time as like Jack's Barbecue started, and I think Jeff started like a year after that.
Yeah.
It was like so. It was
When
like
did you start?
2014.
Yeah, I think Jeff said he was like 15 or 16.
Yeah,
or
and we did
something
like
that,
the
yeah.
first 2014. We did mostly catering and very light. We got the food truck launched in December, so it was like towards the tail end of the year.
Okay.
And then we, and from there, just commissary kitchens were tiny, and
Yeah.
we just started. We were basically taking up half the commissary kitchens, parking lots with smokers and wood and all this other shit. And next thing you know, we're just like, man, I gotta do something bigger. So that's what really just the ease of access of things and being able to do what we needed to do every day. That's why we did the restaurant. Was just
Yeah.
we built the restaurant in the beginning to support the food truck, because that industry
wow.
was blowing up, and
Yeah.
we were one of the few people that I think really focused on consistency and how we showed up every day. And it was
Yep.
like. And so we started our partners that we have within, like the Marymore Concert Series,
Yeah.
Chateau Ste. Michelle now, is like some of these other spots is like our Washington Brewers Fest and stuff. These like coveted food truck spots. Like we were in all of them, but we had to lock it down every year. So it was better for me to be out on the food truck, keeping that all together,
Being
coming
here.
back to the restaurant and checking and making sure and training guys and stuff. And like it became smoother for that, because every time I would focus on being on the smoker, I feel like the other side of it would start to fall apart.
Oh man.
It's like, because nobody can message your stuff like you can
No,
when you're the
man.
one that's
True.
choosing everything.
Right.
And so that was a hard pill to swallow in the beginning, because I really, when we got into it, I was like, oh, I get to hang out on a smoker all day, like
Yeah. Right.
and just like I'll do our taxes and our paperwork and run payroll from the smoker.
Yeah.
That sounds cool.
Yep. Nope.
And I was like, nope, you're now our terrible mechanic,
Yep.
our terrible janitor, our terrible
face of the
repair guy.
company.
You're like the terrible face of the company. Like nobody wants to build a company with a face like this on the front of it.
love it. No,
That's
hey,
why we put a tree on the logo,
he's
right?
beautiful. He's beautiful.
It's like there's a Buxton Hall barbecue out of Asheville, North Carolina. They did they had a shirt that my partner went to their restaurant and brought it back, and it basically was like a pig with a hat on that said Buxton Hall.
Yeah.
My like everyday outfit was a Kansas City Royals hat.
Yeah.
And it was like I got glasses on. The pig had glasses
Yeah.
on. I was like,
You're
dude,
like,
this
"God
looks
damn
almost
it."
like me. What
do you
I
say,
look a little
man?
too much like the
What do you
pig.
say? Oh my god, dude, that's funny. Man.
That is funny.
I love
But yeah,
it, dude.
it was fun also to like. Part of the sexiest parts of running a restaurant is the watching people eat the food and like go.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Right?
That's my favorite part. That's what like, when the pandemic hit and everybody was wearing masks. It was like
It was really tough.
it was like it was demoralizing because like all I wanted is to watch people like. This is a passion project. Like
You want to see the light.
It is,
yeah,
man.
I want
Light
to
in
see
the
the
eyes.
happiness.
Yeah.
Like, and you
It
see,
is.
especially when people connect that to like memories and stuff.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's incredible. So
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
you're right, man. You're right. I didn't know we could make so many people happy until we opened this restaurant.
great?
Like it's really cool. It's really rewarding. I'm not even the chef,
Yeah.
but I take pride in everything, and it's really cool to see this community, man. And
Yeah.
I'm sure you see it the same. I mean, just trying your food and knowing who you are and this type of people that you probably hire, man. I know that you guys do the same thing that we do out there.
we want to make people's lives better. It sounds corny and shit, but it's like
Yeah,
it's
dude.
kind of what drives you on the bad days.
Oh, for
more
sure.
than anything else is like you got to have kind of an ethos
Yes.
of how to approach it, or else it'll just consume you on your bad days, right?
I know,
so
man.
you got to kind of put your the best version of what you want it to be forward as like this is the expectation of it
Yeah.
now, so that way you can just like sit back and watch everybody fight the rules and like
Yeah.
why are we doing this way? It's like because it's got to be the same as
Gotta be
yesterday.
the same.
It's like when
funny,
your Wi-Fi password is, on message. And they look at their time cards and it's like there's some little logo that says consistency and
Oh yeah, dude.
stupid little stuff.
Dude.
Is like you're a little too on message
You're
right
a little
now.
too. That was a little
Like-
too hard.
But that's kind of how you have to run it though.
Yeah,
Like,
man.
everybody's got to be about it or you can't be here. Like,
True.
What are you talking about? We own restaurants, man. What we do is just party and bring our friends in and drink and have fun,
Make
right?
tons and tons
Are you
of
guys
money.
hiring?
And we're
Tons
freaking-
of money.
Bro,
Sounds awesome.
We're
Are you guys
millionaires,
hiring?
dude. Come on over, man. We're just freaking raking it in, dude. Because meat
Yeah.
prices are going down, and costs of
yeah.
gloves and to-goes are all going down. Yeah, right,
Yeah.
bro.
I definitely the part that I enjoyed the most, like the role that I enjoyed the most by far was just being the curator when people are in here. Is like when you get to build that experience for people
Yeah.
and kind of like walk them through it. Like I think that appreciation is the best flavor that you can put on something, right? It was like
Yeah.
I met Dan Crookston, who owns Mean Sandwich. You ever met him?
Oh, I haven't.
Like
but I know
super
Miss
nice dude. Like,
cool.
but he and I were talking about like he's kind of the front guy for his space. It's like it's a small space. People are in and out. It's like a big part of what I do is just make sure that they have exactly what they need.
Yeah.
It's like that roamer that just kind of can walk around and like they're out of napkins or like they can do that work. Or they can jump in the dish pit if they need to be. They can do that stuff to keep the restaurant rolling. But like when you can see somebody having a bad experience, and you can kind of step in there. It's like
Get
I
in
used
there.
to roll in as like we always had this thing with a quarter rack of ribs that we stopped selling quarter rack of ribs for this reason.
Yeah.
But it was because we do the St. Louis spares and we want the big meaty ones, right?
Oh, okay.
There's always that remnant. There's always that little remnant.
Yeah.
It's like you got the split rib,
Yep.
and then you got the remnant on that.
You
It's
got
like
the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you got that bulby piece of meat that usually falls off, and then so you just got this layer of fat underneath, and it's real lean on top of underneath that. So like, if you cook it, it like looks great. You get good bark on it, and as soon as you slice it, all that fat just like pulls off to the side, and it looks terrible. And you realize there's no meat on that thing.
Yeah.
So I would see that as I'd walk around, and I'd just walk around with a rib and just drop it on the thing. It's like, sorry, you didn't get enough. And like that's the kind of stuff that like
Love it.
I always loved the most because like they weren't complaining or anything, but they knew that somebody was there to like watching their stuff to get it right. And it was like that's how
That's
That's a
factor.
little, yeah, dude. That means a lot.
That's experience
It means a lot to people.
for
and-
the customer.
Yeah,
This-
Right. It's authentic.
it's true empathy for their
And
their situation.
You
It's like-
genuinely want them to be happy. You
Yeah.
genuinely want them to go, man, this was a great experience. This was great food. You don't want them to go, yeah, it was pretty good. I didn't get a lot of meat on my ribs. No.
If you've ever made a bathtub of mac and cheese times like 6 in a day, you're like, I want every bite
Oh my
to be
God.
flawless,
Bro.
Because if it's a bathtub like size amount of mac and cheese, you're
Yeah.
like, can we get this whole giant batch right? Like, because so much.
And
so
your,
much.
your mac and cheese is pretty good. Ooh, man.
I've heard you
I
guys
just-
love mac and cheese.
I just can't
Bro.
stop. I
So,
just can't get the image of a bathtub of mac and cheese out of my head.
bro,
That's the
Hey.
thing. It's the thing.
it's a thing. No, dude.
Like, you know those cold plunge tubs?
yeah,
Little
dude.
round ones?
Yeah.
Like, we make that of, like, cheese sauce times 3 a day. And it's like a whole,
Wow, bro.
like, the amount of cream we go through. Like, that's the thing about
I
the
heard
rest
that.
of the barbecue side that I never expected.
Yeah.
Was once you scale it up to where it's at, and you're like, I have an entire walk-in that's dedicated to just raw meats that gets filled up and emptied 3 times a week. Like, filled up and empty. It's
Oh
an
my
8x8 by 8 walk-in, and it literally from floor to ceiling. I mean, enough air to circulate to actually work. That's it.
And then
Otherwise, that thing is full.
that's
full.
insane, dude.
Like the cardboard coming off that from the cases of meats,
Yeah.
all the mac and cheese noodles, all the cream, everything is like it's comical the size of problems that we have.
Wow, dude. Congratulations.
How many-
though, right?
How many
I mean,
recycle pickups a week do you guys have, man?
5 to 7.
Really?
Oh, yeah, it's
That's
Whoa.
crazy.
and it's like a
That's-
4-yard dumpster. Like it's a thing.
That's the
we used
big
to
one.
we used to pile it up and then run it with a box truck to the dump every so like 2 or 3 times a week.
Like,
And then
no, dude.
one day I literally have a picture of mine that's like I framed it at home. It's me standing in a corner with no cardboard. It's like nobody will understand how excited I am. Like finally this
Well, it's the
I want
cleaned
this.
up
Yes.
style is like, but it was a box mountain for 6 months.
Jeez,
Just
dude.
case like flattened out boxes, but
That's-
like
seriously.
6 feet tall.
That's
like,
bananas.
It's funny the entrepreneur things that we do that people like you say, like we run restaurants, people think it's all fun. You're like, no, I sit there and break down cardboard for like 2.5 hours a day. you
Yeah.
know? Or I have somebody do it at
Yeah.
least.
Or
You
you're
know,
cleaning out the grease trap.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because
yeah.
if
That's
you
Tyler's
had
favorite
any
job.
one of your employees do it, they would quit.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, I got a hazmat. I don't even want to. We'll talk about it later.
No, yeah.
I had a problem.
Oh.
I had to be fixed, and it was unenjoyable.
Oh man, this is a real restaurant podcast. Hey Tyler, I do got to ask you: are we cool, Cody? As I texted you, is everything all good at the
I think,
restaurant?
yeah, the health inspection went fine.
Health
We're
inspector
good.
came in as we're like right before we jump on
I was
this
like,
podcast.
oh god damn it!
Like, come
Been
on,
there,
man.
been there, done that.
How am I
Yeah.
not there? Right?
It's always man. It's
There's like
always
two like categories of things that I'm like the most proud of all the time. Is like the excellent rating on the for the cleanliness
Yep.
of our restaurant,
which is hard to get now. It's
Yeah.
really hard to get.
It is.
Good. They've upped their standards. So
But
it's
we
really
also
hard.
like ours is wrapped up with a food truck as well, and
So
like
they're
we want
looking everywhere.
that. We
Yeah.
like the food truck side of it is like we always want to like overcompensate because. I mean, our food truck is not the most glamorous looking food truck. It is a black box with scratches and beat up paint with 2 giant stickers on it. But the goal is like what
It
you're getting
works.
from this thing is legit barbecue.
Yeah.
Sliced to order, stuff like that. And so we don't want to have anything be that roach coach kind of like, don't even want to skirt the edge of that world.
No.
So
Yeah.
we really focus on that. The other side of that is when you get to like your Yelp and your Google ratings, your review ratings. As much as we hate that,
Yeah.
we hate having to look at those.
You do.
But like one of the big prizes is like
You
you
look
look
at
over
those-
4,
you look at those
4.7
4.5ers,
over
Yeah.
versus over like I think it's like 600 some odd reviews on Yelp and like over 1,500 or something on Google, and it's like
That's great, dude.
that's the like just getting it right regularly. Like
Totally.
thank God we pay people to not put bad reviews on there.
Yeah.
So we're broke, but we have
Right.
great reviews.
Get out of here, dude.
But those are the things that like you always like
They
you
mean
know that
something.
that's the window to your business. And like
It is.
you want to make sure
Absolutely
that
window
that
to
stuff's
your
all
business.
real tidy.
Yeah. No, absolutely, man. Well, what else do you want to leave us? What nugget of knowledge you want to leave us with about Woodshop or just barbecue in general that we can tell all of our amazing customers that listen to this thing?
Just know that smoking meats is a method, not
A method.
there's no right or wrong way to do it. I mean, I would think, I have in my mind some of the wrong ways that I've done it, but it's like somebody might like that.
Yeah.
So if you like it and you do it well your way and nobody else likes it, screw it. It's
Yeah.
yours.
It's your own.
And that's kind of the thing about barbecue is like it can either be like you're trying to show off in your backyard at a graduation party or something. It's like,
Yeah.
or you're, just making it for yourself, or you're doing it in production style, or you're doing something that's like what you guys are doing, which is like atypical barbecue, and you're
Yeah.
doing fun stuff with it and trying to highlight different meats and cuts and
Yeah.
cool things like that. And it's like, just be true to what you want and
Yes.
but just like make it your craft, make it for you, not for anybody else. And
Yeah.
then once you get it right for you,
Rocket.
then nobody's opinion matters.
Yeah.
That's right.
And that's because it's more about fun. My business
Yeah.
partner in our contract, in our initial contract, there's a clause in there that if one of the both of us is not having fun, we're going to sell the thing immediately.
Wow.
So it's like
That's
in
great.
our best in our best like ideal situation is we're just playing every day.
Yeah.
And it's like, no matter how hard everything is, no matter how tough, like, like, let's talk about, like, Russia invading Ukraine, and all of a sudden foil becomes a hard thing to get. You're like,
what the?
oh, if only I didn't own a barbecue restaurant that does mostly foil. It's like some
foil.
huge world economic and politics crap, like making your life hell. At the end of the day, as long as you're focused on having fun, you kind of see that's like you're 16 hours deep in a cook that just will never end. You're like,
hit that stall.
Man, it's just fun. Like, just enjoy it. That's
Totally.
the part I've you get away from it, and you always got to remind yourself to get back on that track.
It's true.
Right.
Make it fun.
And I'll piggyback on that and say, don't read the TikTok comments.
Ugh.
Because those are because
Man.
Mr. Jackie Boy 64 that has 23 followers doesn't want to try our smoked tomahawk because of this or that or this
Or I had a smoked tomahawk one time in my life that I thought was terrible, so this one's going to be terrible too. And it's
so
like
it's all bullshit. Yeah.
And that's the hard part is like half the time you're battling other people's like bad work.
Oh, for sure, right?
Like somebody's got to and that's why when we get somebody that's skeptical, it's like,
come try.
All right, let's do it.
Let's go.
But it's also like, if you don't like mine, do not try it again. Because my goal is for it to be the same tomorrow.
Yeah.
And the day after that.
And that's how you made it for you.
Yeah, and it's like our contract with our customers is like, if you put me on your regular circuit of your cycle of food for your week or your month or your every couple months, like, I'm not going to lose that at any moment.
Yeah.
Like I want to hold on to that so consistently that and say that one day we have a bad day or you got one bad rib or something like that, is like, I want that benefit of the doubt because I am consistent as more than anybody else in your world.
Dude.
So.
And it's hard.
Dope.
These days, it's hard to get people to be consistent and come back because there's so many options, right? So, but I can tell you guys are doing it right, man. You guys got a good spot here, man. That's awesome, man. Well, you know what, Matt? We got to wrap it up. We got to get back to the restaurant and open our own restaurant here. But
I go health inspector.
You, bro. We appreciate you feeding us. You and James both honorary meat dudes, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You guys are awesome. I think
Thanks so much.
You guys.
We're gonna
Yeah,
be best
thanks for highlighting the good spots, man. Like,
like
when people are doing good work, it's like more lights got to get shined on.
Yeah,
that.
For sure.
It's cool, man.
Sure.
You know what? We're really gonna make sure nobody says that Seattle doesn't have good barbecue. We're gonna blow it up because Seattle has some great barbecue spots, man. So it's very eclectic up here. But
got to go to a Mariners Royals game, and you'll find a lot of those people.
oh yeah, dude.
Yeah,
There's
they were just here,
a lot
right?
of Kansas City
They
people
were
at that
just here,
game, and,
yeah.
like,
Here last
and then
night.
you start talking to them, and it's like, wait, there is good barbecue in Seattle? It's like,
What are you
and then they
talking
try it, and they're like hooked forever. It's like,
Yeah.
we have so many expats up here that are from transplants from Texas and Kansas. And
So many.
like, and it's delightful when you get to like be that kind of cure for homesickness
Dope.
for people and
That's
Love
awesome,
it.
kind of
man.
create some little slice of home up in Northwest.
Yeah,
So-
that's
For sure.
exactly what you're doing, man. Well, hey, we're gonna sign it off here for the Lady J Meat Dudes. I'm Evan.
Tyler.
And Matt.
Let's
Yeah.
go.